Hello and welcome back to Punctual Politics. I'm Dawson Iasillo, Senior Opinion Editor.
And I'm Opinion Writer Jackson Hatcher.
And I'm Natalie Hill, Senior News Editor. Jumping straight into this episode's topic, on March 23rd, which at our time of filming was Monday of this week, 150 ICE agents, or at least that's an estimation, were deployed in airports across the country. There's no solid list of exactly which airports they're being deployed in, but they've been seen in New Jersey, Atlanta, Houston, Philadelphia, O'Hare in Chicago, and both LaGuardia and JFK in New York. The Trump administration said that this move was to address long lines and a shortage of TSA agents during the partial government shutdown, since these TSA agents are still working without pay and have been since February. More than 400 have actually quit since the start of this partial shutdown. The duties of these ICE agents in the airports remain unclear. Some have been seen on patrol or at security checkpoints, but Trump said that the immediate arrest of all illegal immigrants who have come into our country is part of their duties in these airports, and that's a direct quote right there. No arrests of that type have been reported yet, but it's also been 3 days since this happened as we're recording, so that could be changed by the time of publishing. Some TSA agents said that they thought that the ICE agents might be there for crowd control, and one thing to note is that while the TSA agents who are working aren't being paid, the ICE agents are being paid. Democratic lawmakers and the union representing TSA officers have denounced this move, and critics say that it was a move meant to pressure Democrats to pass funding for the Department of Homeland Security without the changes to immigration enforcement that they were calling for. My first question to you guys is kind of right off of that. Do you find it likely that theory, I guess, from critics is true?
I think yes and no. I think yes. I think it's definitely a game that Republicans are continuing to play. It's very much a threat, I would say. And it also just is kind of a slap in the face to TSA workers. Like, yeah, these people who have little to no training in what this is gets paid and you don't. I think the government is more worried about ICE being present, and I think ICE is, starting to lose traction and recognition. So, let's throw them in there to threaten Democrats.
I'm going to be honest. I think this move by the Trump administration is, and this is a high bar, one of its most incomprehensible. It
just doesn't make sense.
It's hard to see what they're trying to accomplish. Because, you look at what they're doing, they're not doing anything. They're mostly just chilling out. Mm-hmm. So I don't really think it's about making sure it works smoothly. There's the Trump administration claims that this is for long TSA lines, but there is
nothing that TSA is doing to assist with those long security lines. I mean, they're not trained to get people through security. They're just kind of watching. Yeah,
I mean, they're barely trained as is, but they're definitely not trained to do
I think,
TSA stuff.
Don't quote me on this, but I think it's around 16 to 20 hours of training that they have at all.
It's 47 hours. No, 47 for president. 47th president. They made it 47 hours of training. Because he's the 47th.
You're kidding.
Yeah. It might be days. I might be wrong about that, but
that's crazy.
Anyway.
But regardless, that's insane. Regardless, I still want the person doing security on my airplane to be pretty good at their job and to be pretty well trained.
And you get these administration officials coming out and they're journalists are asking pretty understandable questions like, what will ICE be doing? How will they be helping? And none of them have been able to say the same answer, right?
Yeah.
I think I forget who said this. It might have been John Kennedy or Scott Besson or something. I don't know. But they were on CNN and they were they'll be helping people go through the lines, for shortages and whatever. But then Tom Homan, who's running ICE, came out and was no, they don't have training in X-rays and security pat-downs and all this. So I'm do you guys even know what this is for?
I mean, I think no.
No.
I think no.
I think it's pretty clear who came up with this plan, and it was just an idea Trump had.
Yeah, for sure.
Because usually
the dots aren't connecting.
Yeah, usually, regardless of if you think that something the administration is doing is good or not, you can at least understand why they're doing it, like from a
For
political or a
Yeah.
practical point of view. But like,
This?
what are you doing?
Yeah,
you're not
sure.
you're not going to catch a ton of like illegal immigrants trying to
No.
hop on a plane, right?
No.
I mean, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next question for you guys is just a little more general, but do you think it's appropriate for immigration enforcement to operate in these spaces?
No, absolutely not. And I think we are in such unprecedented times that people are self-deporting more than ever before. So where do people need to go if they need to self-deport?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go to the airport. So, of course, illegal immigrants are going to be at the airport because they're self-deporting. And so I think it's another Trump administration way to threaten immigrants and to make them feel less than and to make them feel scared, and just another way of control.
I mean, more than anything, it is just theater. It is playing.
Yes.
Yeah, it's playing media and saying like, trying to get the message out there, or like the idea that we're doing something on immigration when like you're not really. I mean, they're
but
not.
it's absolutely an intimidation strategy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that. I mean, that's I think what the main goal of ICE is anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. Again, even if they're, even if you wanted to say like, oh, going after illegal immigrants is something that we should be doing. At the airport, I mean, you're not going to find many there. Like, most immigrants who come here illegally, they come here legally in airports, and then they overstay their visa.
Right.
Right? So, like, you're not going to, catch a lot of bad actors at the airport.
No.
It just doesn't make any sense. Again, it's kind of incomprehensible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of on that note, do you think that this will make, maybe immigrants, whether they be documented or not, or people of color, feel less comfortable going to the airport?
I mean, yeah. I think, I mean, you're already, like, seeing, like, at least anecdotal, evidence of people being like, I'm scared to, fly home,
Yeah.
And, people who haven't really done anything wrong. And I think that's, the main goal is to, instill a kind of fear. And I don't know how, like, much of a conspiracy this is, or if this makes me sound like a whack job, but I've heard some people say that this is like a trial run for getting ICE in places that, feel like normal, like the airport. So to try and make it so that they can put ICE at like polling stations for the midterms. Now, I don't know if that's true or if they're going to try that, but the fact that people think that might happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but I don't know if that's necessarily far-fetched.
No.
The Trump administration for its entire second term has been testing the boundaries and testing the waters and seeing how far he can go. So this is nothing new, and I wouldn't be shocked to see if this was just testing a boundary.
Do you think this blurs the line between immigration enforcement and policing, and then what are the effects of that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say this action specifically, putting ICE in airports, does that. I think the Trump administration has already been doing that. So, like, one of the big things is, like, one of the big, like, themes of the Trump's immigration enforcement has been pulling law enforcement, like, agents and resources away from whatever they're specialized in to focus on immigration enforcement. So, like, something like half of all DEA agents have already, like, last year were moved to immigration enforcement.
Yeah.
Or like most of I think it's like 2/3 of ATF workers, and even in ICE they have units that are focused on like cybersecurity and other stuff like this. They're doing immigration enforcement now.
Yeah.
And that's long been the thing, and I'm like, well, why wouldn't they try to make TSA do immigration enforcement, I
mean, I think the lines were blurred between, like, policing and, like, ICE agents the second ICE started killing innocent people.
Yeah.
I mean, police are known for killing innocent minority people. I mean, when ICE takes on the street, it's hard to not be intimidated by both police and ICE at that point. I think not everyone, but I think the general public already has hazed that line anyways.
Mm-hmm. I think something I find interesting is like I've seen several videos from like big like publications like the New York Times or whatever,
Yep.
Washington Post, that'll be like, here's the breakdown of how to identify where a federal agent is,
Yeah.
because there has been such a surge of federal agents basically everywhere in the country.
Yeah.
People don't know what each individual like law enforcement agency has the like authority to do. They don't know what they look like, what they can wear. So they'll be like, well, if they're CBP, then they're going to have these badges, and they usually wear things that look like this. But ICE agents, they might not have anything other than a badge. They might be in plain clothes. I'm like, this is not the type of thing that I think should be like knowledge that the public should normally have to concern themselves with.
I agree.
And I think that is more than anything an indicator of how like blurred like law enforcement has become in the past year, because they think they can just smush it all together, smush all the agencies together, and say, you're under my authority and you will do what I want.
Yeah.
And I think we're worse off for it. I mean, not only because, it makes us trust law enforcement less, but because, like, some of these other agencies, they're not doing, like, important work anymore. Like, we are more vulnerable to drug crimes now because there's less drug enforcement and more immigration enforcement. We're more vulnerable to cyber crimes and, like, terroristic threats,
Yeah.
It's
just like another point proven that immigration should not be our top concern now.
It definitely shouldn't.
Yeah. Last question for you guys, and feel free to kind of weigh in too if you think there was even like this much strategy or thought behind it, I guess. But do you think our government should prioritize like, maybe ending the shutdown or like paying TSA agents, getting that independent problem fixed over like bringing in other agencies?
Absolutely. I mean, first and foremost, we should be worrying about our own like people with job security first. We should always be working towards reopening a government. I think that's what all Americans ideally want. Now, I understand there's certain circumstances where we close the government for certain reasons in certain circumstances, and there is a time and a place for that, but this has got to be close, if not the longest partial government shutdown. I mean, these TSA workers, when was the last time that they got paid?
I don't even know. Like 3 weeks, maybe.
Would have been February.
It would have been like February. And like these are not times that you can go without a paycheck. Like things are not cheap. People have families to feed. And we should not be paying people who haven't earned their spot with barely any training. They're standing around watching people. And we have enough money to pay them and not our people who have dedicated their careers and lives to this.
What I find most striking about this shutdown is like the things that like are not controversial about DHS, like FEMA, like the TSA. They are going without pay, but ICE and the Border Patrol, they have remained solvent, right? They have like, $75 billion for ICE in the big beautiful bill. That's not like something that needs to be appropriated. They already have that. They have that massive like bank.
Right.
So they're fine. They're getting paid. And I'm like, it upsets me, but also like, I think this moment, like in time, really calls for like accountability for ICE and the Border Patrol. And if this shutdown can provide that, which I think it can, especially with how like politically like I guess controversial this whole thing has been, then I would say it's probably worth it. If we can actually make it so that there are actual checks on the on ICE, then I say, bite the bullet. I say
I agree.
Necessary.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Punctual Politics. As always, the views represented on this podcast do not represent the views of the Daily Nebraskan as a whole.
Be sure to keep up with our YouTube channel, as Punctual Politics episodes will be coming out every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. We'll see you next time.